The air crackled with tension the moment Will Smith stepped onto the set of the late-night talk show, his trademark smirk barely masking the mischief in his eyes. The audience buzzed with anticipation, sensing something explosive was about to unfold. Across from him sat John Kennedy, a seasoned senator with a reputation for unshakable calm, his gray hair and wire-rimmed glasses giving him an air of quiet authority. The host, a charismatic figure eager to stir the pot, introduced the segment with a playful challenge. "Tonight, Will, we've heard you've got a little surprise for our guest. Let's see if Senator Kennedy can handle it." Laughter rippled through the crowd, but John's expression remained steady, his hands folded on the desk, as if he'd already seen this storm coming. It started innocently enough. Will, leveraging his Hollywood charm, began with a light-hearted jab, recounting a fictional tale of a political blunder he'd heard about Kennedy from a mutual acquaintance. The story painted the senator as out of touch, stumbling over a policy debate with a comical twist that had the audience chuckling. Will's delivery was impeccable, his gestures exaggerated for effect, and the host egged him on, fueling the moment with gleeful commentary. But as the laughter grew, a flicker of unease crossed John's face, not from embarrassment, but from a deeper recognition. This wasn't just a joke, it was a calculated move to undermine him on a national stage, a test of his resilience in front of millions. John's life hadn't always been one of poised dignity. Growing up in a struggling Louisiana town, he'd watched his father, a dock worker, battle addiction while his mother worked double shifts to keep food on the table. The youngest of 5, John learned early to shoulder responsibility, often mediating family disputes with a wisdom beyond his years. That resilience carried him through college on a scholarship, law school on grid alone, and into a political career where he fought for the underdog, blue-collar workers, veterans, single parents like his mom. Yet here, under the glare of studio lights, he felt the weight of that past collide with the present. Will's jests hit harder than intended, stirring memories of being mocked as the poor kid in school, and for a moment, John's composure wavered. The turning point came when Will, emboldened by the audience's reaction, leaned forward with a sly grin and said, "Come on, John, admit it. You've been out of your depth more times than you'd like to count." The room went silent, the humor teetering on the edge of cruelty. John's hand, resting on the desk, tightened into a fist, but then he exhaled slowly, his eyes meeting Will's with an intensity that silenced the laughter. He didn't snap back with a witty retort or a defensive quip. Instead, he began to speak, his voice low and deliberate, carrying the weight of decades. "I grew up with nothing," John started, his gaze steady. "My dad drank away what little we had, and my mom cried herself to sleep more nights than I can count. I learned to fight, not with fists, but with my mind, my heart. Every step I've taken in this career, I've taken for people like them, people who feel invisible. So yeah, I've stumbled. I've fallen. But I've always gotten back up because I had to. And if that makes me out of my depth sometimes, then I'll wear it like a badge, because it means I'm still trying." The room held its breath, the raw honesty cutting through the artificial glow of the set. Will's smirk faded, replaced by a look of stunned respect. He hadn't expected this, not a polished politician's speech, but a man laying bare his soul. The host, sensing the shift, tried to lighten the mood, but the damage was done. Will's attempt to embarrass had backfired, revealing not weakness, but strength. John continued, his voice gaining power. "I don't mind a good laugh, Will. But let's laugh at the right things. Let's laugh at the mistakes we learn from, not the struggles that shape us. I've seen too many give up because they were mocked for trying. I won't be that guy." The audience erupted in applause, a standing ovation that seemed to lift the studio's ceiling. Will, visibly moved, extended a hand across the desk, an apology in his eyes. "Man, I didn't know," he murmured, and John shook his hand with a nod, a silent forgiveness passing between them. The host, now humbled, steered the conversation to a more respectful terrain, asking John about his work with veterans, a cause close to his heart. John shared stories of soldiers he'd helped, their faces lighting up his own as he spoke of their courage. The segment ended with a duet of sorts, Will and John riffing on a light-hearted policy debate. The earlier tension dissolved into camaraderie. In the days that followed, the clip went viral, not for the intended embarrassment, but for John's unscripted vulnerability. Social media buzzed with praise, with viewers sharing their own stories of overcoming adversity, inspired by the senator's words. Will, in a follow-up interview, admitted his misstep, crediting John with teaching him humility. For John, the experience was a reaffirmation of his purpose. He returned to Washington with renewed vigor, pushing a bill to support struggling families, a tribute to his mother's sacrifices. The incident became a cornerstone of his legacy, a moment where he turned a challenge into a triumph. By the end, the message was clear: strength lies not in never falling, but in rising with grace. John Kennedy's story, born from a night meant to mock, became a beacon for anyone facing their own battles, proving that even in the spotlight's glare, the human spirit can shine brightest when it dares to be real.